What is up, Giants fans, and welcome back to another episode of Talking Big Blue with JQ. I'm your host, Jack Cotteraro. Alongside with me, as always, my lovely co-host, Thomas Sinertia. And on this episode, for Week 7, we have a very special guest, Philadelphia Eagles fan, Jonathan Banks. So if you want to check him out on Twitter, Instagram. His handle for Twitter is @JonathanBanks8_. So JB's here to join us and do a little game preview. So Jonathan, what's up, my man?
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on. This is awesome. I remember JQ and I lived across the hall from each other freshman year, and I always asked him, like, yo, what do you want to do? And he's always like, I'm majoring in the School of Communications, but, maybe I want to work in sales. Not really sure what he wants. It's awesome to see him get up with this podcast. It's been great so far. Listening in on a few episodes. He got the T-shirt, got the apparel now. So awesome to see how far you come. Too bad it won't mean anything on Thursday, but happy to be here and happy to talk some football with you boys.
Banks, you and I go back, freshman year. And like you said, dude, like I was very undecided with what I wanted to do with my life. And I could say, I'm happy where both of us are. I've seen you work at ESPN. You've done a little content creation for them. And of course, QBSN, you're our leader, for sports broadcasting here at Quinnipiac. So we're the guy you look up to. But guys, like, this is a big game. And as cruddy as it sounds, no team has more than combined 3 wins on the season. So, guys, like, this game could go either way. I just wanted to take a quick look at the games last year. Obviously, the Giants just didn't win either game. It was no surprise. I looked at the Week 14 matchup. The Giants lost in overtime, so they hung with them well. Eli played that game because Daniel Jones is out with an ankle injury. So, Banks, like, that was a good game for Philly, honestly, overall. And I know Zach Ertz ended the game with that overtime touchdown.
Yeah, and that was a game the Eagles had to have too, because they had to win out those last 4 games, the Giants twice, Dallas, and the Washington football team, obviously not called that last year, but they needed that game. Carson Wentz is doing this year, the last few weeks, what he had to do last year, and that's win with nobody. And that's really been a theme for him in these last 8 or 9 weeks of football that he's played. But that was a good game. You and I were talking yesterday. Divisional games are always tough. It doesn't matter what the record is. Yes, the Eagles have pretty much dominated the Giants in terms of wins in recent memory. I think 2016 is the last time the Giants have beaten the Eagles. But for the most part, those games are close. And that game mattered for the Eagles. They needed it. Carson Wentz delivered, but it wasn't a lack of effort from the Giants' part. And Eli hung in there and held his own throughout the first 3 quarters, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, dude, he threw 2 touchdown passes to Slayton, and he was 15 of 30 with 203 yards. Slayton had 5 receptions for $150. So I'm hoping to see big things out of him again. And dude, obviously, like, those games, Jonathan and Tom, they always came down at least to the wire. Obviously, Week 17, the Eagles blew out the Giants 34-17. But like you said, those were games the Eagles, like, must win. Like, they needed to win those games or they weren't going to make the playoffs. And it came down to that Week 17 game with, if the Giants could have been the upsetters, they could have played that role and upset the Eagles that Week 17, and the Eagles probably wouldn't have made the playoffs. So Tom's over there shaking his head, but Tom knows this is a game that's up for grabs for any team. And I just, honestly, I'm happy it's finally like this for once.
Oh, listen. I have never been more confident going into a football game than I am on Thursday night. We're playing in Philly, correct? I'm not wrong with that. Yeah. We're in Philly on Thursday. There never used to be a place I hated watching my team play at more than Lincoln Financial Field. But now there's no fans, right? There's no fans.
No, there's fans. There's fans.
There's 7,500. It's not a lot.
Oh, God. Never mind. Forget everything I just said.
I don't think it's enough to make a huge impact on the game, though.
Oh,
it's
no.
Not like it's filled.
No, for Philly it is. Those fans, you guys are something different.
JB, Eagles fans are probably the craziest fans I've met, even crazier than Dallas fans, because, like, Jonathan, when I met you freshman year, I remember you had, like, those same kind of posters hanging in your dorm freshman year. And I was like, oh, man, like, I like this kid Jonathan a lot, but he's an Eagles fan. So, it's just like, obviously we always joked about it. It was a little comedy thing we had. It's just like, man, like, he's an Eagles fan. And that was the year the Eagles won the Super Bowl too, 2017. It was just like, at one point, I think the Eagles were like 10-1 on the season. It was madness. I just remember, like, I was like, damn, the Giants are really bad once again. We lost to the Eagles on that, like, 61-yard field goal back in 2017. And I was like, man, like, this kid's definitely going to rub it in. But obviously, JB, you're very respectful. And, dude, like, man, like, I just want to see a win, Tom and JB. Like, the Giants need to beat the Eagles at some point. It's been like 3.5, 4 years now, especially on a Thursday night game. I can't remember the last time the Giants beat the Eagles on a Thursday night football game.
Yeah, I don't either. And Carson Wentz seems to have some of his best performances on Thursday night, which is weird to think about. But I think it comes down to the fact that he's a player that likes to move out of the pocket and get into open space and make plays from there. And when teams don't have as long to prepare for him, I think that's when he excels the most. And I think that's going to be a theme on Thursday. But, you know, we've seen this before at the Eagles. It was a good win against the 49ers. They're playing the Ravens and Steelers tight without 80% of their starting offense. We've heard that story before, but you're 1-4-1. Doesn't matter. This is a game you have to win because we've been joking about it, but if you're going to win this division, then you're probably going to win it at 6-10, and that's a knock on all four of the teams in this division. They're just not good football teams right now. But to win the division, you got to win these divisional games because obviously they'll find ways to beat maybe a few other teams outside the division. But the Eagles, they play the Giants, the Cowboys, then they have a bye, and they play the Giants again, and then they go to Cleveland. Who knows if Cleveland's still going to be good at that point. They're 4-2 right now. But this is a game the Eagles have to set the momentum forward. But this is one of those times where I can't say I'm overly confident what the Eagles are going to do. They looked great on offense the last 2 weeks, but you know, when it comes down to it, I think they'll pull it out, but it's definitely something to monitor because it's not going to be straightforward like in years past where, for example, last year, Eagles had to get a win. I knew Carson Wentz was going to get it done for them. He made it close the first time, week 17, that they got it pretty easily. But this is going to be a good football game between two teams that are headed in not so great directions.
Dude, Sunday, I was mainly watching your guys' game. Yo, you guys stunk a lot.
In the first half.
First half was miserable. And then the second half, absolutely. I don't know if it was you guys woke up or like the Ravens got lazy, but there were times I was talking to my cousin the entire game and I'm watching. I'm like, they can't keep bringing Wentz out if they're going to keep playing like this. Like you guys were getting sacked on first down.
Wentz got sacked 6 times.
It was bananas. But also a quick ad, we're not going to lose now because I just found out Joe Judge is coming home. Joe Judge is from Philly.
Yeah, he coached it. I think he coached at Temple or he's from Philly. But, hey, if you want to play that calm down, if anything, you can get a little nervous playing at home if that's how you want to play it.
Joe Judge is the most non-nervous guy ever.
Yeah, players.
Voice never cracks.
I'm going to say this, boys. I'm going to say this, JB, and you know I've said this before about Wentz. I think Carson Wentz is a great quarterback, and we've talked about this before. Obviously, with the weapons around him at some times, they don't help him out one bit, dude. And he's out there. The one move that I'm expecting him to do this week is they'll be pressured on him from his blind side, and he's just that little tuck it under to escape, either roll out for 15 yards or throw like a bullet pass for 35. So Carson Wentz is obviously one of the main things the Giants need to slow down. And, you know, if Miles Sanders ends up being out, I'm still worried about Boston Scott because last time the Giants played Boston Scott, he lifted them up with 3 rushing TDs and 84 yards receiving. So Boston Scott, you know, a no-name guy like at time last year in 2019 season, now all of a sudden, like he was a Giants killer. And so that could be the same thing happening again this Thursday night. Yeah. And obviously I hope it doesn't, but dude, he balled out against the Giants and probably put up like almost like 40 fantasy points. So that's like, you know, you think about that as a Giants fan, it's like, you got to stop Wentz, obviously, but you got to stop the run. That's something the Giants defense hasn't done well in years. Granted, this year, I like the Giants defense a lot better than years past, boys.
Yeah, I will say this, though. Boston Scott had Lane Johnson, Jason Kelce, Brandon Brooks, Jason Peters, and more blocking for him. And Carson Wentz in that offense right now is on 3rd and 4th string guards around Jason Kelce. So I think that'll speak to why Boston Scott won't be as productive. But as opposed to that, I can't say I've been impressed with the Giants defense, but it's not good, but it's better than I thought it was going to be. And I think that's a testament to some of the new coaching staff that they brought in. But the Giants defense, and this seems to, at least from the outside, not the case with the offense. The defense plays pretty decent situational football. I mean, they won that game for them against the Washington football team. But for the Eagles, it's a simple thing, but you just got to pick up 3 or 4 yards on first down and make a lot of high percentage reads. Because if you can get Wentz out of the pocket, the Giants do have some athletic players. And I was reading what Blake Martinez said. I think he said it yesterday. I said earlier today that Carson Wentz is the same Carson Wentz. Yes, he struggled weeks 1 to 3, but you get him on the run. You see those things that he can do. even though there are a lot of injuries going on with that team. So I think the Giants, the linebackers are going to be key because if they can take away the inside, then that means Wentz is going to have to go outside and make a lot of one-on-one decisions. And the Giants, I'm not saying they want that to happen, but the Eagles wide receivers aren't great. I would trust James Bradberry on a lot of those players. So I think when it comes down to it, the Giants have a decent chance here.
See, Banks, I think they have a decent chance against the Eagles offense because of all those free agent signings they made this offseason. Like guys like James Bradberry, Kyle Fackrell, Blake Martinez, like those guys are literally holding, I think, the defense together. Because imagine this, Tom and JB, what would the Giants be like this year without Bradberry, who, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to be biased, is actually having a phenomenal season in my mind. And you got a guy like Blake Martinez who just loves tackling. I think it's just his favorite thing to do. So he's always in on the play. Like last game, he had like 15 total tackles and like 5 solo tackles. So I need obviously big things out of him and Kyle Fackrell, but where would this team be without them right now? Would we even have a win against Washington? Would we be winless the rest of the season? Like, I just feel like, JB, like that's the one thing that's holding the Giants together because their offense is not performing at all. Like, dude, Daniel Jones has only thrown 3 touchdown passes this year, 2 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then 1 last week against the Washington football team. So I need to see more from DJ. I titled this in my storylines. I need to see DJ use his legs a lot more. I think he could have a good game against the Eagles defense. I know Lamar Jackson, totally different story, totally different type of quarterback. He had a good game against the Eagles rushing, but hey, dude, Daniel Jones, according to Next Gen Stats, hit 20 miles per hour on that read option 49-yard rush. So, JB, are you nervous about Daniel Jones using his legs against the Eagles defense?
A little bit. I think he's one of those players. I mean, you said the stats there, but he's better with his legs than people give him credit for. I do think one thing though, the strength of the Eagles right now is their pass rush and is that defensive line. Malik Jackson is out for 2 weeks, so that's another hit on the defensive side of the ball. But you still got Fletcher Cox in there who's going to cause a double team. You have Josh Sweat. If Josh Sweat and Brandon Graham and Derek Barnett, a combination of those 3, can win their matchups on the outside. I mean, we know Andrew Thomas has been struggling. I think it was Pert that got that start on Sunday. If they can win those matchups, that'll force Daniel Jones out to move the pocket, but not in a designed way, in a way where he's got to escape to get sacked and throw the ball away. So I'm okay with the Eagles. I think they're going to try a lot to contain Daniel Jones and push that pocket so he has to roll out to his left and not on his strong side. I think we'll be seeing Jones move a lot like that. Obviously, it's a little unnerving, but the Eagles have been pretty solid against the run. It's really their secondary that's been struggling. But then again, like if you just stick Darius Slay on Darius Slayton, ironically both with the same name, but I think you can hold Slayton to 2 or 3 catches. And then Evan Ingram's not a huge threat like the Mark Andrews or Eric Ebron even that we've seen. I like Evan Ingram, but he hasn't really put it together consistently. But I am a little concerned about Daniel Jones using his legs. I don't think that'll be the story of the game, though. The Eagles are going to try and contain him, make him move out to the left, but most importantly, let him beat you with his arm. Because if he beats you with his arm, so be it.
Thanks. I think I couldn't agree with you more because, one, I think the Eagles front 7 is the best part of their team overall. Absolutely. Besides, obviously, Carson Wentz. I think he's a stud. But, dude, like, if the Giants O-line, there's a lot of young guys. Mark Colombo, new offensive line coach this year, whole new system. It's been tough for them. And, like, Andrew Thomas isn't living up to the hype. And I know, like, a lot of Giants fans are starting to question if he's our guy. But listen, like if the Eagles are going to bring the house like every other team has so far through 6 weeks, like so be it. You just hope they can hold them for a few seconds because honestly, Matt Parrott had a very good game last week against Washington. Like Pro Football Focus graded him a 93.6 in the run game and like an 87 in the pass game. So I won't be surprised if we see him at left tackle. And also, JB, Tom, and I talked about this last episode. Andrew Thomas didn't start because he was late to a team meeting. So Joe Judge put the foot down and said, listen, you're not going out there for the first couple of drives. We're going to give it to the young guy who is officially a right tackle. So I'm happy with what I saw from Matt Parrott. But I think at this point, you're 1-6. 1-5. Why don't you give it a try? Like you got to move these guys around. You got to see what they're about because Cam Fleming's not a definite answer at right tackle for the next 4 or 5 years.
He is according to your favorite Pro Football Focus guys.
Listen,
you love that website. Why? I have no idea.
Listen, it's fun to watch them, tally up all the stats and it makes you feel good as a Giants fan. You see Matt Parrott with those overall grades, you're like, wow, it's a start. It was his first official game really starting in the NFL, but hey, something to be happy about as a Giants fan, Tom. That's how I look at it.
We won. That's what you're supposed to be happy about. Don't worry about all the other things. We got the W. What did I say? I wanted this. We got that. Listen, it's going to come down to who's going to mess up more in this game. If I don't know what the weather's supposed to be in Philly in 2 days, but if the weather's going to be a problem, like Banks said, they're good at stopping the run. We don't run the ball. Daniel runs the ball, but we don't run the ball. Their secondary, I guess, isn't that good besides Darius Slay. We can't throw the ball either. We can't do anything on offense. So, I mean, if their defense messes up a few times and Daniel finds an open hole or two, we'll capitalize on that. And on the defensive side of the ball, if we let Wentz turn into Wentz from like 2 years ago before he got really, really hurt, it's going to be a bad night. I think it's going to be a very close game. But, Banks, I have to ask you something. If you ran the show over there, what's your plan with Hurts?
With Jalen Hurts? I mean, my plan at the beginning was use the second round pick on a position of need, not a backup quarterback, even though I understand it when you go through it. Then again, the Carson Wentz injury story is a little old for me when you look about other quarterbacks that have missed 7 or 8 games. I get it as part of the offense. I think it's a little tough. It's a tough situation for Hurts specifically. When you're bringing him out there cold in the middle of the third quarter and saying, hey, run a read option for one play and run out to the side. I like it. It adds an extra wrinkle to the offense. I mean, when Miles Sanders busted that 70-yard run in the third quarter, Hurts being in motion definitely helped that because it gives the defense something to think about. Mm-hmm. But I don't know how else you can really expand his role because Carson Wentz is the guy. Carson Wentz is your quarterback. You're not going to take him off the field for 3 or for more than 1 or 2 plays at a time. Even the plays Hurts is in, Wentz is still playing wide receiver or blocking, if you will. But it's a weird dynamic because I get why they made the pick for that insurance. But right now, you can't have Hurts taking too many snaps under center because that's going to get Wentz out of rhythm. And it's a weird thing to balance right now, for sure.
So Banks, add-on question to that: Will the Giants defense see a mix of Hurts and, of course, Wentz? I know Wentz is the starter. Obviously, we all know that. But is like Jalen Hurts, like you think maybe like 2 drives in a row, he comes in maybe 1 or 2 snaps? Like I think you guys, like we talked about this when they drafted Hurts, and I know you obviously wasn't a priority of the team, but you were like, I was like, maybe they could do something like the Saints with Taysom Hill. Maybe you mix him in because, dude, he's a Heisman winner. He knows how to play quarterback. It's not like one of those situations where they want him to play running back or like wide receiver. Like he can ball the kid, Jalen Hurts. And I think we'll see him out there a lot on Thursday night.
Yeah, he's a good football player. And I think too, I almost felt for him in a sense when he got drafted because for 4 years of his career, he will never have the chance to be a starting quarterback. It just is what it is, barring injury. But he's a good football player. And when you talk about that Taysom Hill offense, they could do that. I mean, you look at last week when the Eagles needed a spark against the Ravens, Hurts takes a read option, goes 25 yards. They leave him in the game. He throws the ball to Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz throws it back to Hurts, and Hurts runs it for a few yards. So I think he's more of a spark plug than anything. I don't know if that justifies a second-round pick, but it definitely adds some creativity and ingenuity into that offense. So I think you'll definitely see Hurts in the second quarter. I think he'll probably come in, take a few snaps, do something like that. But if it's a close game, I can't see them taking the ball out of Carson Wentz's hands in the fourth quarter.
Yo, Q.
Yeah, what's up?
Yo, Hurts didn't win the Heisman.
Oh my God! Wait, who won?
He was a finalist.
Yeah, he was a finalist. Burrow won.
Well, excuse me on that. Heisman finalist. But
he was a Heisman quality player. Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking in my head trying to picture him holding the Heisman trophy. I was like, why can't I find that image in the back of my head?
It hit me in the back of the head when you said that. I'm like, I gotta look that up real quick.
Yeah. So my apologies, fans. I'm sorry, a little false content there. My bad. But Banks, I want to ask you this: back on the Eagles defense, we're definitely going to see, I feel like, Darius Slayton versus Darius Slay. I feel like that's the key matchup of this game. And honestly, in my mind, I know Darius Slayton is battling that foot injury. So hopefully, it stinks because it's a short week. So you hope he's ready by then. But who else are who's Golden Tate and guys Sterling Shepard might be a go. He's like a game time decision. He's still on IR. So I don't know if he's, allowed to play yet, but who are the Eagles defenders going to be matching up against? Like, who's going to be on Evan Ingram? Like, what do you think they're going to throw at the Giants?
This is the problem. And if the Giants are going to win this game, they're going to win these matchups because that's been a huge problem for the Eagles. I mean, you look at, for example, we've seen this clip on Twitter. At least I have about 10 times. Chase Claypool's 4th touchdown, you line up Nate Gerry, who's horrible in coverage as a linebacker, and Claypool easily just runs a little post into the end zone. But that's going to be the key here. I mean, you have Avonte Maddox is still out injured. He was starting opposite of Darius Slay at the cornerback position. So yeah, you have Nate Gerry and Alex Singleton, 2 linebackers who aren't great in coverage. That's been the Eagles' real problem. Duke Riley's been playing in coverage. He's also out for this game with an injury. But when it comes down to it, it's going to be a lot, I think, Jalen Mills and Rodney McLeod pressing up and playing up on these guys. So that'll give the Giants a lot of room over the top. I know that they don't take those shots over the top very often, but when you have the Eagles safeties coming into the box, not just to help stop the run, but to cut off Evan Ingram, Golden Tate, and other receivers like that, I think that's what's going to come down to. But there's going to be a lot of matchups the Giants could win if you can have them running inside and Daniel Jones get the ball out of his hands in 1 or 2 seconds, gain 5 or 6 yards in that scenario, because the Eagles defense has not been good on 3rd down. I know they played the Steelers and the Ravens, 2 is statistically the best offenses in football, but they couldn't get off the field on 3rd down. And that's going to be a key here too. If the Giants can make those situations manageable, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, they'll have some success because they get the ball. Daniel Jones get the ball out of his hands quick. Because you mentioned earlier, we know the Giants don't run the football much, so it's not going to really fool anyone. They're not going to hand the ball off on 3rd down and 5. It's just not how they operate. Nope. I think that's going to be important for the Giants, especially early in the game, to win those matchups. But that's going to be the little soft spot in the Eagles defense. If you can get Evan Ingram working, who I thought was going to have a better game against the Washington football team, and Golden Tate as well, a little revenge game for him.
They stink.
Listen, Tom and I say this, JB, Golden Tate is looking like he's just not, that contract isn't living up to what they wanted. Another bad move by Dave Gettleman, Tom. I'm not a big fan of Dave Gettleman.
Also, with the Eagles, Tate wasn't that great. The trade, Tate for a 3rd-round pick, it was worth it because he caught the touchdown pass to beat the Bears. The only reason it was worth it, he didn't really add a lot to that offense. I was left underwhelmed by him. I was told he was a great yards after catch guy, but he gets the ball in space and doesn't seem to do a lot with it. So I was okay when he went to the Giants. It was funny how he says he wants to win and then takes a $32 million contract to go to a rebuilding team. But that's
a guy like that doesn't age well. When you play opposite Calvin Johnson for a while after you were in
all that opportunity.
Yeah, that's when you're going to make your numbers, and that's when he put up his best career numbers. Calvin retires early, obviously, and again, as you're getting older, he was a guy he'd catch a screen pass and take it 85 yards to the house because he shifts between everybody.
Yeah.
When you get older, when your legs get older, your knees get older, your feet get older, you're not going to be able to do that anymore.
Yeah, you lose that step. You lose that burst, that acceleration. And I think that's a little bit of a problem with him. I wouldn't say Golden Tate is the big problem with the New York Giants, but it's another example of Dave Gettleman not using his resources the right way.
We just stink.
Listen, JB and Tom knows this. There's just a lot of problems wrong with the New York Giants. It stings to say it because, at the beginning of the season, I had high hopes. I'm very biased, obviously. Everyone knows this who listens to my podcast. But, you get excited for the season. And then, obviously injuries happen. Saquon goes down week 2. It's just like, wow, like the team is in shambles. And, like, it's a bunch of just what-if questions. Like, will Darius Slayton be able to get open on Darius Slay? Like, what if Evan Ingram actually can have a good game? What if Golden Tate catches more than one pass for 10 yards? Like, can they do that all in one game? I feel like if they could do that, that'd be like keys to success to win. And then, with the defense, I just see the Giants, they need to limit Carson Wentz in the passing game and also the run, because the Giants this year have been able to get pressure on quarterbacks more than last year and the years past. So can they just contain Carson Wentz? Because once he slips out of the pocket, he's a pretty elusive guy. And, he has that arm strength. If he's got to huck it downfield, he can.
Yeah, he's a complete quarterback too. And I think that's the thing. They've been mixing in a lot of designed runs for him as well. But, you look at Carson Wentz's rushing last week, 5 rushes, 49 yards. 2 weeks before that, 7 for 37. Before that, 9 for 65. Like, he is someone that can use his legs. And, that's what makes him – that's why Carson Wentz is a frustrating quarterback because, I like to look at quarterbacks through flashes, through all quarterbacks, And Carson Wentz is a flash player where he has about 5 or 6 plays a game where you're like, this is an elite, upper echelon, potentially top 5 quarterback, some of the things he does on a football field. And then he makes decisions that makes you think, what is he doing out here? Like, what's going on? And I think some of that mentality why he struggled in week 1, 2, and 3 was because he felt he had to do it all on his own. But let's be honest, he is out there on his own most of the time with the talent that the Eagles have struggled to surround himself with. But go ahead.
Let me ask you, what happened to Zach Ertz? This guy used to be like 8 to 10 catches a game. You could not, like, they would bring Goddard into block and then have Ertz line up and just run and like gain yards after yards after yards. Now he's like fizzling away.
Yeah, and I think it's a combination of a lot of things. One thing, I think the contract situation has a little bit to do with it. They're not phasing him out of the game plan, though. For me, here's the main thing. The Eagles have so little weapons that Carson Wentz can throw to. If you just watch a game, every play, Zach Ertz is blanketed on both sides. He's double covered. And you just take – basically, look who the Eagles have on offense right now, or at the end of the game against the Ravens with Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz runs a little route on the inside, 5 to 10 yards. 2 Ravens linebackers go to Zach Ertz and cover and make sure the ball not go. Who's Wentz going to fit it into Travis Fulgham or John Hightower? I mean, practice squad guys and 6th-round picks. I mean, I think Ertz has not been as productive or as good as he's been in recent years. That's a fact, too. It doesn't help that now he's out for 3 to 4 weeks and can't get that form back. But I think it's a lot of little things. Definitely has to do with the fact that defenses could key in on him, and he's a little bit of a shade of himself from the Super Bowl year and before that.
No, I agree with you guys. I think Ertz is a great player. I just think, JB, like you said, he's just getting double coverage because he's literally one of the only options they have. I might botch this kid's name, but Travis Fulgham.
Yeah, Fulgham.
Yeah, he's low-key been a stud for you guys so far. I've been watching him in fantasy because, we're all big fantasy guys. And, some of my receivers aren't panning out the way I wanted them to.
That's your fault.
Listen, I got DK Metcalf and Justin Jefferson, and I played DJ Chark a little bit too much, and it ruins me.
And you also picked up the other guy in Jacksonville.
Yeah, Chenault. Yeah.
The fact that you have 2 Jaguars wide receivers in your team is your problem. Done. That's it. Problem over.
I like to get risky. I take a lot of chances. But besides that, boys, I just think that, Wentz doesn't have the time that he needs to throw the ball. And then the receivers he's throwing to, I've seen it the past couple throughout red zone clips, they're just dropping some passes, JB. I feel like that's been a big problem for some Eagles receivers.
Yeah, I mean, that's been a huge theme. But even just look last week against Baltimore. For third play of the game on 3rd down and 10 at their own 10-yard line, John Hightower drops a wide-open 90-yard touchdown. Miles Sanders drops the ball in the end zone in the second quarter. Think about it this way. The Eagles lost to the Baltimore Ravens by 2 points. You just fix one of those plays. It wasn't a perfect game, but you find a way to win if you make the plays that your quarterback needs you to make. And you can say that about every NFL team, but for the Eagles, that's been apparent. And that's another knock on Howie Roseman, how he's built this team, because outside of the Super Bowl year, yes, that's a massive success. What else has he provided for his quarterback? He drafted Carson Wentz, a backup quarterback. He has drafted him a receiver that to Jalen Reagor, not to knock him because he got injured and hasn't had a chance to show what he can do yet. But besides that, it's been tough sledding for Wentz to have options to throw to. I mean, he was in the playoffs throwing to Deontay Burnett and Robert Davis last year. I mean, those are guys that are practice squad guys. You only know their name because they played one game for your favorite team and then they bounce. I mean, even this past weekend, Carson Wentz threw a touchdown to Jason Kroom. Do you know who that is? Because I didn't know who that was until he caught the touchdown pass. He's a third string tight. He was signed off the practice squad a week ago, and guess what? Now Goddard and Ertz out.
Yeah, so we might be seeing more of him now, JB. I know, like you said, it's a guy you haven't heard of, but JB, I feel like the Eagles and the Giants, they lose winnable games when it comes down the stretch. I thought the Giants could have beat Chicago. It came down to that last play in the end zone. I mean, against the Rams, they only lost by 8. It came down to the final drive where Jones, coughed it up and threw an interception. Yeah. So I think, in Dallas, you let them drive all the way down the field. Andy Dalton, he goes 9 of 11. They kick a field goal to win the game. So I just think it's a lot of missed opportunities for our teams. And boys, let's get into the expectations for this game. I'll start off. Listen, JB, I think the Eagles are a good team. I know they're really banged up right now. I think the Giants are banged up too. Every team's banged up in the NFL, but yeah, I think this is a game that if the Giants want to, continue to try to do something this season and not just give up and just take a draft pick, they need to win this game. So I'm going with the Giants, boys. I'm going to say the Giants win 31-27. I say it gets close to the over of the game. I think it's around 55 points or whatever, 60. I just think, it's a divisional game, guys. So I think anything's possible. And I think if the Giants offensive line can just block for a little bit, just give me some life. I think Daniel Jones is a smart quarterback. He can make the right reads. I know he basically has a turnover all of his career starts, but I think, this is the game where Daniel Jones hopefully doesn't have a turnover, boys. So I'm saying 30-27 Giants.
Banks, you go.
Yeah, that's the right game to pick the time for Daniel Jones not have a turnover. I think outside of Nick Mullins, the Eagles haven't gotten a turnover off any quarterback. I'm obviously going to pick the Eagles here, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than you think. Let me put it like this. The Eagles hung 57 points in the last 2 weeks on the Ravens and the Steelers. I think they'll exceed that average. I'm going to say 34-24 Eagles. I think it'll be a close game. I think Eagles are going to get off to one of their classic slow starts. Giants will have 2 good drives, maybe go up 10-0. Eagles will come back. I think it'll be close, and then towards the middle end of that fourth quarter, the Eagles will score a touchdown to put it out of reach a little bit, 10 points, and then hoping Daniel Jones won't get it done at the end. But I think it's going to be a hotly contested game, a close game, dumpster fire game, if you will. But I think the Eagles win a close one because these teams, the Eagles, I think, still have more talent on paper, even with all those injuries, but they're not that far apart. I just think Carson Wentz is the better quarterback and will get the job done in the end.
Yeah, everyone knows where I'm going to go, but this is when you look at this game based on the teams and the fans, the Giants, if we win, we're on a 2-game winning streak and just the skies are blue. Eagles, you guys have to win this game.
Absolutely.
Like if you guys lose, like if we lose, another day, another dollar. Just keep it pushing. Give me the number 1 pick, whatever. Eagles, you guys got to win this game. Mm-hmm. So obviously the Giants have nothing to lose. Eagles kind of have almost everything to lose. Not everything, but if they lose, I feel like the Eagles fan base will blow up a lot more than the Giants will if Giants lose this game. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think it's a field goal game, not like field goal scoring wise. I think it's going to come down to a field goal at the end. Giants win 27-24 off a late Graham Gano field goal as the clock expires. For some reason, I keep thinking it's going to be raining in Philly this weekend. I feel like every time we play in Philly, it's either cold or raining. I don't know why, but
probably because November, December in Philly.
Right, exactly.
Great weather.
So, but no, it's gonna be a fun game to watch. It's gonna be the only game on. We have Joe Buck announcing it, but we got the whole game on to ourselves. It's gonna be fun to watch.
JB, I think you said it best, a dumpster fire game. And of course, it's a primetime game on a Thursday night. And, stakes are high, boys. It's for the division, basically, because the Giants can take a big leap here. They jump the Eagles, and then I still think they'll be tied with Dallas or right behind Dallas because they lost to Dallas, whatever, however it works out. But I guess 2-5 looks a lot better than 1-6. And finally, boys, let's get into the crazy hot takes. JB, this is something Tom and I have been doing all season. We just like to make wild, crazy takes because, hey, you never know. They may come true. I'm going to start off. I'm going to say Daniel Jones, I'm going to say this again, does not have a single turnover against the Eagles, and he throws 3 touchdowns.
Wow.
You got to go big.
He has 3 touchdowns this season, right?
Yeah. Badly.
You go, Banks.
Oh, this is a tough one. I've been thinking of a lot of different things to say, but, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say Brandon Graham will get 3 sacks in this game. And, it's tough. That's not really a huge hot take. I was thinking to throw out there, Carson Wentz throws for 400 yards. Boston Scott gets 2 touchdowns. Thinking about one of those. But the Eagles' best part of their team is their defensive line right now. And obviously the Giants have struggled on that offensive line. Specifically, you could argue the 2 outside positions in the tackle spot. And Brandon Graham is going to have a day feasting. He hasn't had more than 2 sacks in the game this season. But I can see Daniel Jones. I can see both quarterbacks, to be honest, going down 5 or 6 times in this one. So I think Brandon Graham is going to go out there, get 3 sacks. If you need a crazier take from me, I can provide that for you too. But I think there's going to be a big game for 55 out there.
Give me the crazy one too.
The crazy one too. You know what? I'm going to say Carson Wentz accounts for 5 total touchdowns. That's going to be my crazy take. That's going to be my crazy take. And, I don't know if that's going to come to fruition, but let me try and sell it to you guys. Carson Wentz in his last 2 games has accounted for at least 2 passing and rushing touchdowns. This is a quarterback, remember, that prior to this year had thrown touchdown passes in over 20 straight games. This is a guy who has a nose for the end zone and knows how to get it done in the red zone. He has 4 rushing touchdowns this season. So I think I can see Carson Wentz throwing for 3 touchdowns, rushing 2 in there. One of them obviously being a patented quarterback sneak, so not a lot going on there. But that'll be my crazy take. If this game goes off the rails, it'll probably be in the Eagles' favor because Carson Wentz has kind of resurrected back in the 2017 Carson Wentz. So I'll say, why not? Carson Wentz 5 total touchdowns. Let's come back Friday morning. Hope that I'm right about that.
I like it. I like it a lot. Good take, JB.
Thank you.
Okay. So I hit last week. I said that Danny Boy would throw a touchdown for the first time since week 1. He did. So
that's a hot take.
That was a hot take. Yeah.
So I'm going to double down and say that he throws 2 this week. And I'm going to string it along with Graham Gano has made 15 field goals through 6 games. That's about 2.5 a game. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say he makes 4 field goals. No. He makes 5 field goals, 1 more than his season high, which is 4.
That would be good for me because I have him on a couple of my fantasy teams because he does put up a lot of points. 16 field goals through 5 games is a lot, boys. But, boys, this pretty much concludes the episode. Jonathan, thanks, my friend. I just want to say thanks for coming on an episode of Talking Big Blue with JQ, my guy.
Yeah, thanks for having me, boys. It was a lot of fun. It's obviously great to talk some football, when you got 2 allegiances going on, Eagles and Giants going down. But, I appreciate it. I'd love to see how this podcast has grown, in the last year. Definitely got to pick up one of those T-shirts, though. So let me know when you're doing another order for sure. That's the only thing I would probably ever rep with the Giants logo on it.
You hear that, Giants fans? We're making it places.
Only because of you, JQ. Nothing else. You give me an Eli Manning, Victor Cruz jersey, I'm probably looking for the nearest trash bin for it.
Oh, damn, JV. Always good jokes with you, my guy. But once again, we appreciate you coming on. And Giants and Eagles fans, tune in to the post-game recap. We'll have it out after the game. And let's just go Giants. Let's go Eagles. Let's hope for a good game. Hopefully it's not a dumpster fire game like JB said, but let's go Giants. Their defense, if they're going to win this game, has to do it for them. But, boys, thanks again, and we'll see you on another episode, everyone.